that you've been a part, haven't been sensitive to that quite the same way in that retirement mode. You know, those doctors that got through the physics course only make mistakes one person at a time. Educators have the opportunity to impact lots of people, hopefully in a positive way, and the impact lasts for a lifetime. Sometimes their mistakes are buried. I love medicine. I'm not beating up on medicine, but education's awfully important. There's a little farmhouse, rural Indiana, Randolph County. There's a kid about 13, walk up the stairs, you have to dip to get into the thing, a little half bed. The walls were cardboard. And I used to lay in that bed and look and think about what my life was going to be. Who would I marry if I did, and what work I would do, and I really wondered what life was going to be like. Fast forward 30 years, some things have happened since then. A degree from Taylor, teaching profession, won a few awards, did a few things, came back to do a doctoral program at Ball State, came back to that same little farm a few miles from Ball State, laid in the same bed, same stuff on the wall, nothing changed in our little farmhouse. And I looked and wondered what the second half would be. First 30 years were down. I was 43 years old, went back to school. Well, you know, you close your eyes and wake up again, and you fast forward another 30 years, and you're 73, and you get to come back, and somebody thinks you have wisdom enough to talk to a group of young people. A few other things happen in that 30 years. You finish your work, you get to work with wonderful people, and you work in an MAT program, and then you retire. And then somebody asked you, and thousands of other people, old, what is it that you recommend for young people? What advice do you give? What sort of information would you want to give them for their own success? And so there was a long-term study that's done this way, and there were thousands of old people asked the same question, and they distilled the answer into 3 suggestions. The first of those suggestions was this: don't make your happiness conditional. Don't say, oh gosh, when I finish this degree, I'm going to be happy then. Can't wait. Oh, if I meet Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, Miss Right, happiness will happen then. Well, you know, maybe it's the first house. Maybe it's the paying off the college loans. Maybe it's the new car. Maybe it's the retirement. Maybe it's picking out the right plot. Whatever it is that you conditionalize your happiness to be on, dependent on, let that go. Be happy now, and don't conditionalize it for something external for you. Make the choice for happiness. The second of those admonitions was to do it now. That there will be more regrets for the things you don't try, the things you don't give into and go and do, than the things that maybe you failed at. I put glasses on people in the third world. First time I tried this was in a little bitty slum school in Makar slum in Nairobi, and I put together a few things that my optometrist had given me, and I thought I was going to reinvent the wheel and test these kids, and I tested them. I identified some kids and thought I had it all arranged, and there was going to be a bus come and take them to a vision clinic, and all these things were going to happen. You know, when I started to test them, I just didn't know much, and I said, do you have something we could put this chart on the wall, and do you have a nail or a hammer? And there wasn't a nail or a hammer or anything, and finally we caught a kid chewing some gum, and we pulled the gum out of his mouth, stuck it on the wall, and we started. I failed miserably. The bus never came, the kids never got their care. It didn't work. You know, sometimes it doesn't work. And then I found a group of people in Florida, and they had a setup already done with glasses, ladders, and flippers, and charts, and everything was in place, and I adopted this method, and I've used it for the last 10 years to put glasses on people all over the world. And you just have to start and try. Don't miss out on doing something that you have passion to do, because sometimes it gets a little bit late and you can't do it. I had an interesting reminder just 3 days ago. I'm at a track meet for my granddaughter. I'm down helping, and I'm sort of sneaking inside the track, and I'm watching my grandson long jump and so on. And the hurdles were about to start, and I needed to get up to the stands where I could film again. And I walked down through this area, and I found out that I was fenced in. Yeah, here's a 4.5-foot steel fence, and I'd have to go all the way back to the entrance to get all the way around to get to the stands to film those hurdles, and there wasn't time. And I said, "Oh, go for it. I can hop this thing." Nice little steel wire fence with those little twisty wire deals at the top. I said, "I can do it." Wow! Well, the first leg got over. It's not a pretty picture, I know. It was jeopardizing some very important parts of my body at that moment in time. And of course, the people around me looked and said, "Oh, there's an old man stuck on the fence." And so I said, and I wasn't quite strong enough, even though I lived 3 times a week in the circuit training at the Y. And I finally got that other leg over, and I finally fell off the fence and got on the other side just about at the time 3 or 4 people came to rescue me. And I embarrassingly slipped up in the stands and got my camera and pretended like it didn't all happen. Sometimes things pass you. You don't pick up basketball anymore, and you don't do this, and you don't do something else. You just can't physically do it. The opportunities aren't there. Do what you can do at the time you can do it. Just go for it. Just do it. The third of those ideas was this: what you do for others are the things you're able to keep for yourself. And so you find ways that make others happy, and the joy of that work for others is what will maintain you and keep you satisfied with the work that you've been able to do. Out of those things, there's a couple of other things too. When I say do what you need to do when you can do it, the study didn't include these things, but I would include it in our talk today. The first is to forgive. If you've got something you need to forgive, or somebody you need to forgive, that's the next thing you need to do right now. Just get it done. That forgiveness business is not about the person that you think's offended you in the world. It's not about them. They may be completely oblivious to either what they did or how they did it or how they offended you, or whether they even know you're going to forgive them or not. That forgiveness is self-serving. Do it for you, and do it quickly. The second thing is, tell the people that were there for you and helped influence you along the way, i.e. it may well be your teachers. Tell them about it. Dr. Ridgway, used to come in once in a while, and we worked every day, every working day for about 10 years together, and we got to start to read each other's minds just a little bit. She'd come in smiling one day, and she'd look at me, and she'd say, "Got paid today." And I knew it wasn't a check in the mail. I knew that's an unlikely event. But somebody had told her how they had been influenced by her and how she had changed their lives. She'd heard from a student, she'd heard from someone. And we'd share these stories with each other. You have special people you share their stories with. Make sure you pay the people that you need to pay and tell them that they've changed your life. And do that quickly. So I've just got one last little piece to share. In our MAT program, we had lots of people from lots of different vocations. And we had football players, and we had bench chemists, and we had a number of people. Some were 22, some were 55, and you put them in groups of 15, and they'd, bring a variety of ideas and experiences to you. One of such persons was James Kessler. James Kessler was a magician. Professional magician. He came to the MAT program. We helped him learn to teach it. We were sitting around one day and James says to me, I got a story for you. Good teachers usually have a story for you. He says, you know, as a magician, we had these shows we called knockoff shows. You know, knockoff shows. They're just kind of that routine, mundane, sort of bread and butter kind of show you do. It wasn't like working in the restaurant. It wasn't like doing a big show. It was a knockoff show. And he says, you get invited to come in and do a 2-hour party, and there's a bunch of little kids, and you get the little kids up there, and you have some fun, and you do some balloon animals, and you do a little magic, and then you get your check and get out of there. He says, I had a couple of little knockoff shows. True story that I'm telling you. I had a couple of these knockoff shows up in Michigan, and I drove up there, and I had one in the afternoon, and the kids came in, and we had a little fun, and we did some balloon animals, and boy, I'm tired. It's Friday afternoon. I'll get home. Finished off my knockoff show, and I had another one about 30 miles away, and I drove over there, set up, did my show. Kids were in the show. We had a little fun, did some balloon animals. Boy, I'm trying to pack up. He says, I'm pulling my stuff into the car. I can't wait to get home. He says, a lady came to my car while I was packing, and she said, oh, thank you. You do miracle. He said, ma'am, it's magic. They're just tricks. No, kind of broken English. You do miracle. Really, ma'am. It's okay. It's just magic. No. She says, you do miracle. She says, my daughter, 2 years ago, saw her brother commit suicide. No speak. 2 years. Today, she spoke to you. She spoke again today with you in your program. He looked at me and he said, I realized right then, there are no more knockoff shows. There are no knockoff days. There are no knockoff lessons. The opportunity for that miracle is there, and you never know when its time comes. So I say to you, in closing, be happy choosing. Do it now. The time isn't always there. Make sure you plan to create help and support for others, because you never know when that miracle needs its chance. Thanks so much for letting me be with you today.